As abortion activists firebomb pro-life offices and pregnancy centers in Wisconsin, in Oregon, in Maryland, and elsewhere around the country, the White House is continuing to insist that the pro-abortion protests have been peaceful and should continue even when they take place at judges' homes.
So I know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
I actually cannot quite believe what she is saying here. Is Jen Psaki saying that the White House is encouraging the protests outside the Supreme Court justices' homes, meaning the protests that are occurring at those homes? Or is she saying that the White House is encouraging protests outside of, meaning other than or except for the ones at the judges' homes? I hope it's the latter. I've been trying to figure out how to make it be the latter, but I just don't think it is. I don't think it is because the other day when Psaki was asked directly about the very same protests, she refused to condemn them. She said that she doesn't have an official government position on where people protest. I don't think she is saying except for the judges' homes because today she's still pretending that the pro-abortion protests are peaceful, despite the graffiti and the arson around the country, despite the shrieking mobs outside of the justices' homes where their children sleep. I don't think that it's the latter. I don't think she's saying don't go to the judges' homes because the protests at judges' homes are to influence their decision in this case are in violation of federal law, and the White House won't say anything about that. I don't believe that Jen Psaki is condemning these protests because when BLM was burning the country down, senior officials in this administration were raising money to bail out the rioters. The left is right about one thing in this whole mess. They are right that we are witnessing a constitutional crisis. Not because the Supreme Court might overrule a terrible decision from the 1970s, but a constitutional crisis because the executive branch is waging war on the judiciary. The left is willing to tear down the most fundamental aspects of our system of government. The left is saying the quiet part out loud, specifically the pro-abortion left, where there's really not a distinction these days. It used to be that you could be on the left but oppose abortion. I think that's pretty much gone by the wayside. It certainly used to be that you could be a Democrat and oppose abortion. That's been gone now. It seems almost entirely gone, and it's been extremely unpopular for 30 years, really starting with Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's father, when he was governor of New York. He invented this idea of, I'm personally opposed to abortion, but politically I support it, which doesn't make any sense at all. If you think it's murder, then it should be illegal. If you don't think it's murder, then why do you oppose it? If it's just like taking your appendix out, then who cares? It's not a big deal. It was always incoherent. So I use these for the left or the Democrats or the pro-abortion activists. Today, 99.9% of the time, they all refer to the same group of people. And they are saying the quiet part out loud, okay? When Jen Psaki comes out and she says, yeah, we encourage protests outside of judges' homes. She's saying what we already knew the White House believed. If she misspoke, I hope she clarifies it today, but I don't think she did because in practice, the White House has been encouraging all of these protests. So I'm not surprised that she says, yes, we're encouraging them. Janet Yellen, who is the Treasury Secretary for Joe Biden, she came out and voiced her opinion on abortion. Seems kind of crazy, right? Who cares what the Treasury Secretary has to say about constitutional law and the bioethical question of abortion? Who cares? Well, Janet Yellen cares. And actually, she exposes one of the reasons why corporate America, the kind of big corporate establishment, is so gung-ho on supporting their employees to go travel out of state to get an abortion, to oppose the overrule of Roe versus Wade. Janet Yellen makes the argument that if we have fewer abortions, we're not going to make as much money.
I believe that eliminating the right of women to make decisions about when and whether to have children would have very damaging effects on the economy and would set women back decades. Roe v. Wade and access to reproductive health care, including abortion, helped lead to increased labor force participation. It enabled many women to finish school. that increased their earning potential. It allowed women to plan and balance their families and careers. And research also shows that it had a favorable impact on the well-being and earnings of children.
If I wrote a script about the pro-abortion side, and I just wrote exactly what Janet Yellen just said, her argument for more abortion, and I turned it into a producer in Hollywood, they would reject the script for it being too cartoonishly villainous. They would reject it probably because of the politics of the script too, but they would reject it because of the writing, because what she just said is such a caricature of an evil villain to say, well, it is my opinion that we need to continue to kill 875,000 babies a year, because if we kill fewer of those babies, we might not make as much money. And then we won't be able to buy as much stuff. And then we won't have lots of fun toys and jewelry and gems and gold and money. We have to kill the babies so we can have more money. That is my reasoned opinion as the Treasury Secretary. And then just when you think she's going to start making some other kind of, that's her primary argument, well, okay, then she talks about the effect on women. Maybe she's just an ideological leftist who, she said, it's really important for women's well-being in the labor force. For women's well-being in their earnings potential. So it's just about money. You're saying we need to sacrifice our babies so that we can make more money. I think that's a bad deal. I don't think we should do that. I'm willing to diminish the GDP of the United States if it means we don't slaughter upwards of 1 million babies a year. Call me crazy. Call me old-fashioned. Oh, it's not even old-fashioned. Every evil pagan tribe in the history of the world has practiced human sacrifice to try to grow their riches. Okay, and the United States right now, with this woman as the Treasury Secretary, with this government that we've got in place, is doing exactly the same thing. And they probably don't even see it. They think that they're really fancy and sophisticated and modern, and they just understand things. No, they're doing the same damn thing that awful tribes have done for all of human history: sacrifice their kids to Moloch so that they can sacrifice their kids to Mammon, really Mammon, and so that they can have more stuff. I think it's pretty evil when you really think about it, don't you? I think it is, but they're saying they used to mean that, but they wouldn't say that. And it really throws this into perspective. Why is Amazon paying for their employees to go out of state to get abortions? Because it helps their bottom line, because it helps Amazon make more money. Beyond the woke takeover of Amazon or the woke people at Tesla, Tesla's got the same policy. I'm sure a lot of other corporations are going to have the same policy. Beyond the wild ideological takeover, there's a cold, hard cash capitalist element here too, which is they want to make more money. Kids are expensive. They cause women to not work as hard. They cause women to take a lot of time off from work. They cause women to be less reliable in the workplace because maybe little Johnny gets sick one day and they're not able to come to that meeting on Tuesday. And so if you kill the kid, then you've got a much more reliable workforce. Then you get much more man hours out of them. It'll really increase labor participation. That's literally what the Treasury Secretary said. It's evil. It is. I don't throw that word around lightly. It is evil, it is hideous, it is inhumane, but it's the argument that they are making explicitly. Glad you liked that clip. Now, ring that smash, like that subscribe, click that, whatever you gotta click. Subscribe, make sure you get the notifications. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your audio podcasts, subscribe over there as well. If you don't mind, leave a 5-star review. We will see you next time.